Good afternoon. My name is Paresh Nair. I'm professor with D Y Patil School of Management, Navi Mumbai. And today we have an opportunity of introducing to you Mr. Yogesh Shetye. He's head of business sales with Paycraft. He has put in nearly 25 years of work-ex. After doing his postgrad and MBA, he joined HDFC. As you know, it's one of the leading banks. And subsequently, he has moved to the big four, among them Ernst & Young and PwC as a consultant. And then he took a plunge into the fintech. That's something which we are going to focus today. With a perfect mixture of banking and fintech. So Yogesh, welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
I think the students would be really enriched with today's discussion on banking and fintech. One more thing I wanted to add, he is a marathon runner. That's what you said, that you get meditation out of that.
Correct.
Okay, great. So to begin with, Yogesh, I would ask you if you can share some defining moment in your career when you saw that how do you combine banking, finance with the technology?
Sure. So, as you mentioned that my career started with HDFC Bank at a very junior level. From there, luckily I got an opportunity to one of the very innovative product which even today is a buzzword, okay, which is UPI.
Yep.
I was in a bank at that time. UPI was supposed to be launched, and everybody was very excited to understand what product is, and only few banks were selected to do the pilot, and the entire NPCI was the driving body who was working with us. The actual technology and the business behind the UPI is the IMPS, and I was part of that project. So that was one innovation which I worked on. I'm feeling very happy that I was part of that innovation and that people are still looking at it, and that innovation is not left only to India. If you look at globally also, now multiple countries are looking at India as an example because the volume of UPI has gone up, and globally that product is called faster payment.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I mean, if the students are coming across a word called faster payment, that means it is nothing but the UPI which you are using every day when you go to a grocery shop or any restaurant. So that's UPI. Moving ahead, working on payments as one of the domain. Again, I got an opportunity to work on Visa, Mastercard, credit debit card business, where I learned the way Visa, Mastercard is operating, and that was the actual turning point for my career from banking to consulting.
So that's how I think that's a defining moment for you.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So that leads to next question which I have. So since you have been in the traditional banking and now in the fintech company, so what could be some highlighted differences between how they operate and engage with the customers?
Yeah. So what happens if you see the old banking, the way they function was, you have to go to the branch, you have to open an account, you have to fill the form, etc. Okay. That entire movement has now changed and it has become digital. Okay. You don't need to go to a branch, you don't need to actually go and see any banking employee and do any services. So this entire paradigm shift which is taken in this last 1 decade is because of the movement of fintech who started coming in.
Very.
So for example, if I have to say KYC, it's a classic example. Previously KYC is done on the branch where the branch manager had to sign. Today you just have to go to a link which is shared by the bank, and then you have to link to Aadhaar and you get a OTP, you have to get a selfie, and your account is done.
Yeah.
So that is the way things are changed now.
Between the banking and the fintech companies, the way they are operating. All right. So there is a lot of technology which is basically in the last decade or so we have seen that it has transformed the banking as such. So what do you think is some highlights of the few innovations which the student should be aware of? Like we all understand UPI and all, but what's a big innovation which you are seeing, that something which students should be looking forward to?
So when I see the technology, the way banks are adopting technology, what I think is that students should understand that the way how the functions are being carried out in the bank. Okay, if I have to categorize few banking functions, like you have a CASA account opening, or a loan processing, or BG processing, all those functions. You have a checkbook, you have a debit card, credit card, all those functions. Some or the other way there are technologies involved. Some or the other way there is a need of understanding how the customer is behaving.
Correct.
In terms of to make his life easy, and that is how banks are trying also. So if a student wants to see a banking as a career, okay, there are formal courses like you can do MBA in finance, MBA in banking and technology. You have BFSI courses, multiple BFSI courses which today multiple institutes are offering. The advantage is that when you do such kind of courses, you have a base ready. When you have a base ready, when you go to a banking industry, it becomes easier for the employer or your colleagues, the senior colleagues who are hiring you to make you understand what is the requirement of their job. So coming back to your question, I think the formal courses, which I would say that we should have something of BFSI and MBA, banking and finance
And fintech.
Fintech
It's one of
subject.
the subjects.
I think we should talk more on fintech in a while. But fintech is a word which is now become a very, very crucial and important in the banking industry now, because that has become really a growth factor for multiple banks which we see today.
So that's my next question about the same thing. So we have seen that overall what we understand, the fintech is a technology which is sitting on a lot of banking products as such, and banking, most of the students and I think the layman, everybody understands that. But now we have seen that the fintech is the buzzword which is going around, still new to many people. But also we have seen that the banks, instead of developing such fintechs in-house, they are onboarding the fintech. Like, why do you think it is so?
So let's understand where this philosophy came from. So today when we speak, banking team realizes, the bank senior management, the top management realize that the technology is changing very fast. Every 3-4 years there's some new technology comes, new product comes. The security features are getting enhanced. There are a lot of security features are getting added in the existing product because of the fraud which is happening today. Customers have become very digital savvy or net savvy, and looking at that, the way bank wants to function is that they want to focus on their core. Okay, getting the business, getting more customer, getting the CASA. CASA is basically the saving account, current account. So getting more loans. So basically banks are now focusing on developing their, improving their own products in terms of, adding more manpower to sell the product.
So marketing and sales become the focus.
Okay. The entire backdrop, if they think that if a bank wants to invest in the technology, then they have to keep upgrade the technology. They have to keep hire talent with the new technology. Okay. So eventually the cost will go high. The time to market will be slightly far, because again bank will have their own process of onboarding the fintech or onboarding the tech guys, and then developing the technology in-house. Rather than this, they believe that if they hire tech companies or small tech companies and develop a product, okay, for example, developing a product just for a KYC. Okay, so they will onboard a fintech who will do the KYC for them. Okay, and they will ensure the process which is set up by the bank employee. Okay, so the entire the business flow and the security features will be given by the bank to the fintech player, and they have to develop it. So in our company also, we come across a lot of such requirement from the banking industry that okay, we want this product to be developed, but you have to follow our process and the technology or the security features.
Correct.
So that is the reason now these fintech are getting more opportunity from the bank to get onboarded. So I'm not sure whether you've seen the past, the banks have their fintech incubations, and they invite fintech player, okay, and they invite fintech player to demonstrate the product which they have, okay, and then they pick and choose the product which they want to work on, okay. So that is how the banking, the traditional banking is now moved from developing the in-house talent or in-house product to focusing on their core of doing a business of sales.
Sure.
Okay, focusing on the customer service and purchase a technology from outside.
Got it.
That's the idea. That is how the banks are.
That's the reason they take on board the fintech.
Yeah.
So that's also something which we do, that we have now innovations like UPI, we have digital wallets and neobanks. So all these are there. So customers traditionally know that, all right, I take my money, go to the bank, keep in the casa or fixed deposit. But now with this neobanks, digital wallets and UPI, so how do you say that it is changing the way the customers manage their funds?
See, today what happens is when a customer wants to do any kind of banking services, okay, looking at today's world, everybody running and then they don't have time to go to the branch, the new bank culture is starting. So, in a nutshell, what is new bank today? If a student wants to understand what is this buzzword new bank, new bank is nothing but the banking with all digital touch points. Okay? So there are multiple payment banks have come today, okay, like Airtel Payment Bank, Unity Small Finance Bank. Okay, all these banks are now focusing on their existing customer base, okay, and leveraging the existing customer base to onboard the existing customer on their banking platform.
Yeah.
They sell their CASA to them, they sell their cards to them, and that is how this entire new banking is taking a shape, and they're able to sell their products without having a capital investment or having a physical infrastructure to onboard the customer.
So everything is online. You don't walk to a branch, but it's a so-called new bank which you are having, and then sitting at home, your all requirements are met. Oh, that's great. So it's a big innovation, I think.
Yeah.
So could you also highlight any of the examples where a small idea and typical investment which led to start of a fintech?
It's a good question actually. See, there are multiple concepts you can think of today. Okay, so where there is a pain, where there is a need, there is an innovation required.
Yeah.
Right? That's a bottom line. Right? So what are the pain today? So data is science. Data is a new oil. So if you have a concept of collecting the data, okay, in some other way, okay, with the consent of the customer, and if you work on something to ensure banking is able to getting benefited. So for example, one good example I'll tell you. Okay, you have a credit score, right?
Yes.
The traditional way of credit score is what? You will see what is the check bounce number, how much is your loans, how much is your credit cards, how much your debit card, how much are your debts, and then they have a formula to arrive a credit score, right? There is a new way which I have seen in one article and was very interesting. The guy has done a fantastic job of collecting the data of social media.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, Paresh is connected to Yogesh, who is me, and 4 other people, and their market standing and their financial standing is slightly mediocre or higher, not a low. That means they have arrived to some formula and assign a score to him. Okay, and that score basically is then given to the NBFCs. Okay, to give small loans. That particular concept where you can identify a person's credit rating without getting into the CIBIL or something. Okay, because not everybody will have a very great CIBIL score or not even have a formal banking exposure. So that those layer of the customer today is very high. Okay, very high. Small shopkeepers, or the auto rickshaw guys, they need a lending. Okay, and that lending goes from 5,000 rupees, okay, to 50,000 rupees. Okay, and depending on your some score, which they arrive, okay, with some algorithm they put, that amount is allocated to that person. So for example, Paresh is reaching out to some NBFC asking for maybe a 20k loan for the repair of his old car, or something for his shop. So at that time he will probably approach such kind of NBFC and he will get a score from the backend and the loan will be assigned.
So there's a lot of investment which is going into such products?
Yes, because this sector, the non-formal banking sector in India is very high.
Absolutely.
Very high. And if I'm not wrong, there are multiple fintech players are working on the concept of giving these small loans to the that particular sector of the people, so that and even the interest rates are very high.
Microfinance.
So microfinance, and I think microfinance is again slightly high. It is below that.
So that's how it is. All right. And now, as we were talking about banking, fintech. The moment we talk about technology, today's world is machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data analytics.
Correct.
So, how do you think that these are the special babies which we have in the world now? These are playing a big role in the banking and fintech.
Yeah. So, this AI, today AI has become a very important factor in almost all the sectors.
Absolutely.
So let's restrict to the banking industry today. If you go to a HDFC Bank app, okay, there's a small bot which comes, right?
Yeah.
And you can ask a query. That bot itself is actually a kind of AI.
Yeah.
Okay, where you ask a query, it will get a response to you. Okay, so this is one concept where AI is actually helping reduce the customer care load. Okay, so today if they are hiring say 100 people and out of it maybe 20 calls are just to know what is the balance or where do I get my checkbook or how do I hotlist my card, all those queries get resolved there. So automatically AI is in some or the other way helping them to reduce the cost there.
Sure.
The another excellent use case of AI in today's world is to see the risk score or the for example, I'll just give an example. So today you have a salary account. Your salary is maybe monthly 2 lakh. Okay, and suddenly if you try to swipe your card for 4 lakhs, okay, the transaction will be on hold.
Yeah.
And you will get a call from the bank. Okay, it is an automated call, and then you said you've done this transaction, say yes, 1 or 2. So that's AI. Okay, where they're telling you the risk of that transaction. Okay.
Correct.
So there is an algorithm, there is a mechanism, there is an AI behind your transaction pattern. So for example, if my even if my salary is say 2 lakh per month and I'm spending 1.5 lakh on a regular basis, then 2 lakh will not get a call. But if my spend pattern is say 40,000, 50,000, I'm spending 2 lakh, okay, immediately the flag will be raised and the call will come to me on the registered mobile number and it will ask whether this transaction is done by you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's AI where actually you can reduce the the cost of bank calling the customer.
Operational cost.
Yeah, operational cost. So AI is trying that AI is now becoming the integral part of all these operational functions. How they can optimize the banking services. Okay. For example, when you send a chat to the bot, okay, it will say, "Hey Yogesh, how are you?" No, that's because it is collecting the data from my
Link
database,
number
and then
all,
it is showing me. So that giving a personalized message, is again example of AI, where today bankings are adopted on.
And how is the data analytics is going to work for
See,
the bank?
that's what the data analytics is again the part of, for example, the transaction security.
Sure.
It's a data analytics. Okay, the data of your transaction pattern. Okay, that is being studied.
Okay.
So that's the data analytics done. Okay?
So that's where the fintech plays a major role.
Exactly. Even the data analytics plays a very big role in selling, cross-selling. Okay. So for example, I buy a car today, and I give a check of X bank, or I do a UPI. Okay. In next day I'll get a call for insurance.
Yeah.
How do you know? It's data, right? It's data analytics, which is telling them that Paresh has bought a new Mercedes and now he wants to buy a insurance.
Yeah.
So the banker will send a messages to you, or they will start calling also.
Correct.
So that is how the overall cross-selling of the product is become so easy that they will not call you and ask for a personal loan. They will not ask for a credit card to you. They will definitely ask for a insurance to you.
Ancillary products which can be sold.
So this customized way of selling the product is become very good in the banking industry now.
Sure.
That is how it is helping us in giving the customized service to the customer.
So then the question comes up, once you have so much of data analytics, you have artificial intelligence, so virtually everything is known to a third party about myself.
Right.
But then there is a balance which needs to be maintained by the financial institutions between the innovation and customer trust and security. So how does that being balanced or maintained by institutions, financial institutions rather?
So if you see, knowingly, unknowingly, when you open an account, you say I accept or I agree to some certain terms and conditions, right?
Yeah, which we accept without reading.
99%.
Yeah.
Right? And they ensure that they will always be in the boundary of the banking terms. Okay. If you see, banks are spending huge on the data security, the transaction security today.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is one word, this is one work probably, or this is one area where the student should look at. The cyber security is one of the area where banks are investing very, very heavily, because we know how frauds are happening today. On a call, on a link, or phishing is done.
Yes.
So that is how the banks are trying to ensure the data is secure, the transaction is secure. At the same time, it is not leaked. Okay, because eventually, when this matter goes up, somewhere banks are getting pulled. So banks are spending a lot of money, and I think the student will have a great opportunity to get into those areas now. Okay, because the digital is not going to go soon. It's going to grow. Okay, so I'll tell you. Even the government transaction in the past were around 10 to 15% is now around to 40 to 50%.
Yes.
So the trust of doing a digital transaction with all the merchants, all the touch points is now increasing day by day. And that is the thing. I think these areas will obviously grow. And coming back to again your question, data security, where bank is spending a lot, and I'm sure. Don't worry about if you're banking with the bank who are regulated.
Right.
Okay? So that is very important.
Sure. Okay. Now, as far as the fintech is concerned, and if we need to focus, all the financial services are getting linked to the fintech as such, because it's not only the banking, but we are focusing on banking and fintech as a topic. But there is always the moment you hear about a fintech, then it comes to the student that should they be learning some skills? Maybe do they need to know something about the coding, Excel modeling? So all these things, do you think are important from the point that they need to be technically very sound, or it's that just you should know about these technicals and you can be in the banking and fintech?
So the example sitting in front of you is basically the person who has not done any engineering degree. Okay, I am postgraduate in chemistry. Okay, I have done my MBA in finance. Even though I have studied in chemistry or I've done an MBA in finance, okay, I've got a job in the banking. Still, I'm in a company who is a fintech, and I'm a president where I'm still looking at the business of a technology. Okay, so coming back that if the student wants to understand where the career is in fintech, okay, so let's understand what fintechs are doing today and how are the structure, what is the structure of an organization in the fintech. Okay, so typically there is a vertical which is a business and sales. There is a operations. Okay, there is a development team. There is a business analyst team, and there is a project management team.
Correct.
Okay, so these are the 5 broad categories of the organization pillars. Out of which the business and sales, the operations, the project management office, and the business analyst. These 4 areas where you really don't need to be a engineer or a coder. Okay, when we hire, when we also try to see what is the skills that person is possessing today, whether the person is from banking or from ex-fintech, whether that person is able to understand how the customer is behaving, what are the customer's need. I'm saying customer is not my client, as the end customer. Okay, that is where the role of BA comes, because he will design the flow of a particular transaction or a particular device or a particular process, for my banking client. Okay, the project management office will ensure stitching all the people together, from the tech side, from the client side, because he will be the face of the client. He will pull the BA who will do the drafting of the entire process or the entire flow of a particular assignment, and the operation guys will ensure day-to-day operation is done. Like if there is a transactions are involved, they will do all settlement, reconciliation, dispute management, all that. Okay. So if a student is interested in joining fintech, okay, one thing I would request everybody to understand that the need of R is today to understand what is the customer requirement. Okay, what is my client requirement? Is my client very tech savvy? What is his pain point? Okay, if the person mindset is to get into that grassroots level to understand the customer pain point and my client pain point, I think fintech is a place for you. Okay, one area which although these are all rosy points though, but one thing a person should understand that if you are in a fintech, probably you will end up doing BA job or you also end up doing PMO job, because the number of people in a fintechs are very less, and that is how we are cost effective for the bank, right? Or my client, okay, or NBFC client or my banking client. So we have to be agile, okay, in terms of managing multiple roles, okay. At the same time, grasping has to be slightly faster, because you don't get time to sit on a particular product for long, where the actual fintech plays a role, right? The go-to market is very fast when you go to fintech, right? And why that go-to market is very fast? Because we don't spend time in drafting long document processes. We are very quick in doing a small work, developing a code, move forward, and that small pieces we stitch together and we go to the client. So if I have to launch a product, I will say day 0 I'll do this, day 1 I'll do this, day 2 I'll do this. And that is how the go-to market is reduced, and that is what even the student should understand. If they want to join fintech, then they have to be able to manage.
But technology is not something they should not be having that doubt in their mind that if I am a tech person, then only I can do it. It's as you made it very clear.
Correct. The only thing which I would say that the advantage if a student is having probably that a basic understanding of technology backbone. Okay, what does API means?
Yeah.
Today we heard API banking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if someone said what is API banking, what is API banking, then that student should not say I don't know what is API.
Sure.
Or the databases. What is databases? What is the application server? What is the database? Small things. No need to have a coding languages. No need to be a Python expert or a Java expert or designer or something. Or you should know how to the mobile app has been developed.
Sure. No, that's very helpful.
Basic technology. If you just do a Google also before you go for an interview, that will help. A fintech interviewer to understand whether you have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah. No, that's great, because this is always a doubt. That means a non-technical student can really get into the fintech as such. Sometimes there are some common misconceptions among the students about the careers in the banking and the fintech. So could you just highlight something like that?
Okay. So career in banking and fintechs are not totally different actually. If you are not a coder or a developer or a techie, okay, career in banking and fintech is more or less similar. Okay, now I'll give you an example. If you are a person who is very methodical, who follow a process, okay, banking is a place, because you will have a hierarchy of 20 people above you. You will have to draft something, someone else will read, approval will come. That is a step which you have to follow if you are in a banking terms. Okay, so you will be focusing on a particular core.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, again, if a student is joining a bank in a payments as a vertical, that payment, again a question. In the payment, he is maybe looking at credit card as a business. Okay, so in credit card, he will be only focusing on business of credit card. Okay, then he will not understand what is happening in loans, what is happening in probably insurance. Okay, he will not know what is the account opening side or a checkbook side, what is happening that side also. So he will become the master of that particular product.
Yeah.
Okay. At the other hand, if you are part of a fintech, okay, fintechs are hungry for the business, right? So they will go and pitch the product, they will modify their existing product, and they will go and pitch to a multiple bank. So eventually, probably my product, which is for a bank, maybe I'm selling a particular prepaid card for a bank, I will go and sell to NBFC also.
Yeah.
The requirement of a bank and requirement of NBFC can be different. Okay, so you will end up learning 2-3 business requirement. Okay, probably you will not able to understand, or you will not able to go to the depth of a prepaid card business. Okay, but you will understand what is the requirement of the market. Okay, so it is up to the student whether they want to become a master of a particular segment or a particular area, or the student wants to remain a surface and want to understand overall where the market is and where the growth is, and want to become in fintech and remain agile.
So fintech will give you that sort of platform that you can.
It's a diverse platform you will get, because companies are being small. They will go and put you more work on different sector.
Sure.
At the same time, you have to internally also to manage a PM or a BA or an operation job at times. Okay, so on top you are managing multiple clients with a multiple requirement. At the bottom, you have multiple work which to be managed. So it's a difficult task, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Interesting as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, definitely.
So generally, the students who would like to be in the finance side, so they are sometimes unsure where to begin when they are in the finance. So what sort of advice can you give it to them, that how they should just begin in their career from the finance perspective?
Absolutely. So basically, if you are a MBA or a BBA graduate, okay, coming up with the basic finance as a course, or even the
Banking,
BFSI course or something like that, okay, NBFC is a good place to go. There are 10,000 NBFCs are registered today in India. 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay. If I say around 500 people or maybe 200 people are working in one NBFC, imagine the number of people who are working in the churn which is happening on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Okay. So NBFCs is a place where they can easily get a job. Okay, because NBFCs are looking at a good talent who are vibrant and agile to work on multiple sectors. If you are keen in also going to a small bank or a payment bank, that is the area, because those are very those are the guys who are digitally savvy. As I mentioned, neobanking is all about going in technology. So that particular banking sector is also growing up too much. So eventually these small banks or the payment bank will get a full-fledged
So the technology is also being combined.
Correct. So
the combination of banking and fintech somewhere.
So yeah.
All right. Because many of the NBFCs are also towards that fintech now.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that is what, if a student is pursuing his MBA in finance or NBFC, BBA, MBFC or something like that, then these are the 2-3 areas where, they can look at, there are around 10,000 fintechs in India today. So imagine.
So that's what I want to know now about. So, when it comes to the career opportunities which are emerging, as you said, there are fintechs are also a lot, they are spreading. So, as compared to your traditional banking role, do you think that fintech has got upper hand, or you'll put both at par, or how do you compare it between the fintech and the traditional bank?
So I think we discussed that if you are looking at a banking as a career, you have to be very clear in your mind what kind of opportunity you are in. Okay, so given my example again,
Yes.
that I started with the in IT. Though I was an MBA, I have been put in a IT as a department. From IT, I moved to operations, and I was part of a business person after 3 to 4 years. Okay, but in fintech it is slightly easier.
Sure. So, if some students really have to develop their career in future in banking or a fintech, so what sort of skills they should be right now developing?
So if you want to become a banker,
Banker or a fintech guy, yeah.
Okay, let's first target the first question, the banker. Banks will have a traditional way of hiring, okay, where you will have your formal graduation or a post-graduation from a finance. They will typically look for some experience, okay, maybe an NBFC or some financial company, okay, because bank wants a person to start working immediately on their product, okay,
Especially when it comes to some private banks.
Correct. Yeah, okay. Public sector bank, the hiring is totally different, so let's not talk now. Okay, so that is where the banking hiring or the skills which required. Okay, so one skill, basic skill, is that your qualification with the finance or BFSI or a fintech which will come in play. Okay, with that you get you should have some experience of NBFC, so that the entry to the banking is easier. Okay, if you are a BBA or MBA, and if you have some work experience in internship also, getting in fintech is easier. Okay, because one is because the hiring process is not that stringent in fintech. Okay, mostly. We are very agile, we are very flexible in hiring people. Okay, in my team, there are engineers who are doing a sales job. There are engineers who are in operations also.
Right.
So, not necessary that you have to have a large past experience of banking or of finance. Okay, I recently had a guy from some different industry altogether.
Okay.
He was in FMCG sector. Okay, he was managing the entire FMCG operations. Okay, but that guy was very good in understanding and explaining his own work to me.
Alright.
So hiring also, when we see if you are able to understand what you are doing today, okay, you have a clarity of work what you are doing today, we hire it, because we want people who are very clear in their thoughts and clear in their understanding what they are doing today. So if they understand what they are doing today, we can explain and we can teach them to our products and our functions to work with us.
So that means what you said, that means the students can decide after actually looking at themselves about their skill set, whether they are good to get into a traditional banking
Correct.
or a startup style fintech environment.
Correct.
But you really emphasize on that if you are into a fintech, these are the startup companies. You should be absolutely ready for the hard work,
Absolutely.
learn, need to be agile. So this is what you were highlighting.
Correct. Yeah, because the nature of work which fintechs are handling are very different than the traditional banking. So, for example, I'll just give an example. If a product has to be launched in a bank, okay, or product has to be developed in the bank, there is a BTG or a BHG team will come in play, who will go to the customer along with the business guy, and then they will make a note of the requirement. Okay, then business and BTG will come together and prepare a business plan. Okay, they will understand what is the revenue stream, what is the expenditure. Okay, and then that case will be submitted to the business head. Business head will go to the finance head. Finance head will give the approval based on the business head recommendation.
Sure.
And then the project will kick off. On the other hand, a project will come to me as a business head.
If you are in the fintech.
In the fintech, then first my team will get a lead from the market. It will come to me, and then I will just analyze. I'll not go and talk to 5 people. I'll just call up my operation head or my tech lead, and we'll come on a call for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. We'll prepare a plan. I'll go to my CEO or my founder, and I'll get approval and project will kick off.
Wow.
So the time which takes to get a project kick-off in a traditional banking or the banker will take, and the time which we will take will be less because.
So it depends on the student the way he wants to get into a career in either of that.
Correct.
How your personality is.
If you are very process-oriented, very methodical in your approach, or very clear in want to be an expert of particular domain, don't want to diversify very often, then bank is a place for you.
Sure.
You will automatically go because you are process oriented, you are methodical. So your growth path will be very easy. Because bank want people to follow processes, become a very methodical, very accurate in their work. So it is up to the student and their skills and their what they think where they want to land in the future. They have to decide to opt whether for a bank or for the fintech.
Great. So the student, when he joins this course, so the banking, finance, or any other domain for that matter, so there is something which in the classroom they are taught. If somebody is joining, say, banking and finance or a fintech side, but do you think that they should be doing any further courses or a certification programs outside the classroom? If so, if you can name some, or you can just highlight some sector-wise.
So, if I think when I was in a bank also, and when I was in fintech also, what we look at a student, when the student is coming to me as a fresher or with a 2 year of experience or 3 year of experience, what we see in the CV, okay, the 2-3 elements. One, the basic graduation is done in the relevant field, like you're done in the banking or in PFC or a fintech. That means he's aware of all the banking terms, banking functions, technology functions. Okay, that is one area we see. The other area which we see is the internship where the person is done. Because internship does not only help you understand what kind of work to be done, but also help you understand the way corporate works. That is also very important, right? So that particular work which you have done in the past really helps for us. Now coming back to the formal courses, if you are a person who loves data, okay, and think that you want to try to take a career, pursue a career into something related to data, first you should do Excel very well, okay. And if you can do some ancillary courses of data science or something related to AML or the MI, all that courses will probably help you in taking your career in that direction. Okay, if you feel that fintech is the place where you want to be, okay, Probably a basic computer course of coding. Okay.
Not to go into detail, but overview.
But that will actually give him an understanding of jargon which is used in the fintech.
Right.
You know, when a person who comes from a B school, okay, it will be very difficult for him to understand what is API or what we heard database.
Yeah.
What is the database? Okay, we talk about cloud technology. What is the cloud technology all about? You know, so all these small fields, small areas of work or small courses probably help you in understanding how fintechs are working and what are the area where fintechs will be, talking on.
Right.
So in the interview, probably, if someone will talk about all these jargons, he will at least able to relate to what those terms are.
Sure. So you touched upon briefly, and that was my next question. How much is the internship worth in you want to build the career?
If you ask me, I know it is too much of pressure for a student to get an internship, because I have seen, I am also getting multiple calls from my client. My son is, my son has done MBA, my son is in BBA, I want to, give me an internship. Okay. You don't have to be choosy, first, okay, that I want to do an internship in a particular sector only, or I want to understand a particular area, okay, because then that will narrow down your search, okay, because understand, student, that you are having a graduation degree or a post-graduation degree, okay, interns coming and sitting in your office and we are telling them to work something, that means one of my resources spending time on it, right?
Absolutely.
So if you are not very choosy about your work, if you are not very particular about the requirement and you are open to work on a particular domain, then it's become easier for an organization to put you in that any particular role, because not necessary if someone is very inquisitive to work in a PMO job, but PMO job needs a client facing, and client can ask questions to anyone.
Yes.
So I can't afford to have someone who is not knowing about my product sitting in front of my client. Okay, so if the students are very open in their requirement of getting into any startup or any company, any NBFC, with an open mind, that I want to learn something, I want to understand how corporate works. Even small things like drafting a mail.
Yes.
Okay. What should the mail subject contain? What should be the body contain? There should be a signature. Then how those other documentation work is being carried out in the organization. Those things also help you in your career. Because then when you are going to your formal job or a formal career, then these things will definitely able to take that edge over the other people, because you have seen something how it is happening. Okay, so when we had one fresher, okay, and we have to teach him from the scratch,
right?
Okay, that the main body should contain so and so. If the overall hierarchy of the organization is like this, since you are not been to any place where the actual the senior people and the overall people structure, the organization structure is maintained, you will not be able to relate when you are going to a particular job.
Yeah.
So not necessarily you will learn only your domain, but all these salient features will definitely have an edge when you're going out.
Yes. So as it can be inferred from your comments that internship is critical.
Yeah,
and
pretty good.
Essential from that aspect, because you would not be somebody who's sitting as and observing something rather than working in a new company when you get a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. So Yogesh, thank you very much for your time, and
Thanks,
it's been very insightful. I'm sure the students, parents, whoever the audiences, they would be enlightened today about this banking and fintech. And if there will be any questions or comments, let them post it and we'll be there.
And I can respond to them. You can come back to me with any questions and we're definitely happy to respond to them.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.